Zeke couldn't believe what the guard had done. He knew Sarah had bad eyesight, and this was probably like a death sentence to her. Zeke didn't think that in one quick motion he got up and tackled the guard to the ground. He proceeded to punch the guard. "Zeke!" Sarah exclaimed. He ignored her and continued to punch the guard. Troy managed to push him off and immediately aimed his gun at Zeke. "You frickin' piece of shit!" Troy snapped. He had a black eye and his face was bruised. "I'll kill you!" He went to pull the trigger but was stopped when he felt a cold metal blade against her throat. "F off," a woman said. She didn't sound pleased. Zeke could tell it was a woman who had short hair and appeared to be rather strong. "What the fuck, Jane? What the hell are you talking about?" Troy snapped. "I'd like to ask you the very same question. Why would you break the girl's glasses?" the woman asked. "Don't I have to explain it myself? Hell, why do you even care?" Troy said. Jane didn't respond for a couple seconds. Troy grabbed the knife from her and looked it over. "I don't know where the hell you got this, but I'm warning you. Next time you do anything like this, I'll frickin' kill you. You understand?" "You really think you scare me?" Troy, Jane asked with a glare on her face. Troy appeared to be staring back down, as if he feared the woman. "Just don't do that shit ever again. Got it?" Jane didn't reply. She only crossed her arms over her chest. She was waiting for him to leave, and Troy grumbled to himself and started to walk away. "Thanks," Sarah said as she was now standing up. Jane nodded before she grabbed the broken glasses on the ground and handed them to Sarah. "No problem," she said before she left. Sarah sighed and looked over the frame. None of the glasses remained. The frame was completely useless. Zeke got up and walked over to her. "You alright?" Zeke asked. Sarah shook her head and said, "I don't know what I'm going to do." "Does your dad have a spare or something?" Zeke asked. "Maybe. I'll ask him. Till then, can you help me a little? Everything's pretty blurry." "Yeah, I got you," Zeke said, as he took her hand and led her over to where the group had congregated. He and Sarah arrived just in time. The garage door opened with Carver and Clementine coming out of the yard. Clementine seemed to be getting better. Her bruises have healed a bit, but she still remained sad. He noticed that she was now wearing a demi-jacket, which went down her waistline, along with her other clothing. "There has been increased activity along the fence, so be mindful while outside the walls," Carver said. Then Zeke looked over the man. "The herds moved closer as of this morning, but that doesn't necessarily mean we'll be hit. Now we'll be monitoring the situation, and now there might be some folks who are sore about what happened, and how all things went. That's all in the past now. Some of you are new to my community. Some of you are members that went astray. But know that you could find redemption here, forgiveness, by proving your worth through the undoubtedly be hard work." Carver turned to Reggie and he said, "Reggie, you're nearly back in. Keep following the path and we'll welcome you back with open arms." He then turned to the group. "I'll let Reggie be an example to you all. I hope to inspire you to be more like him." "What a load of shit," Kenny snapped. "You really think I'm going to listen to a goddamn thing you say?" The woman from last night and Troy went to aim their assault rifles at Kenny, but Carver made a gesture to them to lower their weapons. Carver had a smirk on his face and he said, "I do believe Clementine has a message for you. All of you." He turned to the girl, who seemed hesitant to speak. "Remember what we talked about." Clementine sighed and she said, "You guys did not help me. What you said was selfish and irresponsible. None of you are my friends anymore." "And?" Carver said. Clementine looked up at Alvin and Rebecca. "Say it." Clementine seemed like she was about ready to cry. Baby, it's okay. Just do what he tells you," Rebecca said, to prevent the child from getting beaten by Carver. "I can't," Clementine sobbed out. "You'll say it, or one of your former friends will die now," Carver says. He pulled a handgun and started to aim at the group. "Maybe I'll shoot the worthless infant." Carver aimed the gun at Genevieve, who was being held by Alvin. The toddler curled up and shook out of fear. She was probably crying into Alvin's shoulder on top of that. "But Bill, what are you doing?" Reggie exclaimed with a horrified look on his face. "Troy, stop this man!" Another yard member exclaimed. Zeke didn't get his name, but he just looked just as strong as Alvin, but was a leaner. "Whoa, hold on, sir. There's no need to kill a baby. That's not necessary," Walter said as he got between Carver and the infant. "Let's all calm down and think about this rationally. Carver glared at the older man before firing a shot at Walter. He was dead before he hit the ground with a bullet wound to his head. "Fuck!" Luke exclaimed out of fear. Sarah screamed out of fear before she held on to Zeke to her dear life. The boy hugged the girl in order to feel somewhat safe. "Walter!" Matthew exclaimed. He ran over to his partner and huffed. "No, no, no!" Matthew exclaimed, with tears falling down his face. "Does anyone else want to try anything?" Carver snapped. "Bill, please, let's just take this down a notch," the woman from last night said. She had her arms up and she had a worried look on her face as Carver aimed his handgun at her. "I don't want you as parents anymore," Clementine finally said. Carver's glare began to disappear and a look of satisfaction appear upon hearing the child's words. "Good, Clementine," Carver said as he holstered his gun back in. "See? That wasn't too hard. Too bad you made a mess of this in the process," Carver said as he looked over to Matthew, who had his face buried in Walter's chest. He looked back to Troy and said, "Get some people to clean this shit up. Clementine and I have work to do." "Okay, boss," Troy said, before he went to Howe's. Carver turned back and he said, "Now the rest of you know what you'll be doing." He walked away while dragging Clementine along. Sarah huffed as she kept hold on to Zeke. "Please tell me when it's over," Sarah said. "Yeah, I think so," Zeke said as he began to stroke the frightening girl's hair. He looked over to see Serena and Kenny trying to comfort Matthew. No one moved. In fact, that Carver actually shot someone out of cold blood made everyone freeze. Even the woman from last night looked terrified. What the fuck happened? Everyone heard a new voice coming out from the yard. They looked to see an Asian American man approach him. He looked around until he saw Walter's body. "What happened?" the man asked. He looked over at the other man from earlier. Vince, Bill shot this guy," the man said. "This guy didn't even make a move or anything." The man Vince nodded his head. He seemed surprised at what he heard. "Vince, you know I don't bullshit this kind of stuff. I tell it exactly as it is," the man said. "I know," Vince said. "All right, I want the new guy, Luke, and Al to come with me to the expansion." The man nodded before proceeded to follow Vince. Luke also walked over to join the men. Vince made gesture for Kenny to follow them, and Kenny sighed before he looked over at Matthew. "I'm sorry, Matt," Kenny said, before he got up and walked over to Vince. Alvin handed off Genevieve to Rebecca before he proceeded to join Vince. Together they made their way to Howe's hardware store. "Come with me," the woman from last night said to Zeke and Sarah. Zeke looked around and saw that another way yard members were starting to disperse and go at their daily duties. He even saw some other people go over to Matthew and Sarita. They assumed that they were about to remove Walter's body. Sarah was sniffling, but had managed to stay calm enough to be able to release Zeke. Zeke took her hand and guided her inside. As the two went through Howe's, Zeke looked over to Sarah and said, "Are you all right?" Sarah shook her head and said, "Walter didn't deserve to die. Why does someone like Carver exist?" "I don't know," Zeke said. They continued to walk behind Tavia until they heard a taunting noise. Well, Sarah the crybaby has returned." The two teenagers looked over to see another teenager approach them. "Go away, Becca. No one likes you when you act that way," Sarah said. The girl Rebecca seemed surprised at what Sarah said. "Oh, so you think you're so tough now?" Becca said. "I bet I could still beat your ass easily." "I'm not scared of you anymore," Sarah said. Becca glared at Sarah before she went over to Zeke and her eyes softened. She said, "Hey there, you're pretty cute. You want to hang out later?" Sarah looked at Zeke with a scared look on her face. Did she really think Zeke would abandon her for this girl? "No thanks, I'm dating Sarah," Zeke said. "What?" Becca exclaimed. "The hell you seen with her? She's a weak little baby. She's about as flat-chested as you can get it." "She's getting stronger. I find it very attractive and cute," Zeke said. "Boy, I can't believe a cutie like you dates a weirdo like her." "See ya," Rebecca muttered, before she walked away. "Who was that?" Zeke asked. "Becca. She didn't like me or Clem when she first showed up. She became more of a bully over time," Sarah said. "That's rough," Zeke said. "Still, she's nothing compared to Carver," Sarah said, as the two moved on and saw a woman next to the door. "Head on inside," the woman said as she opened the door. Zeke and Sarah proceeded to walk inside. Zeke couldn't believe his luck. He seen that Bonnie was going to be supervising them and Sarah. He heard the door close shut from behind him. "Come on over," Bonnie said. "We're filling magazines." Zeke was reluctant, but obliged. It wasn't much of that he had of a choice. Zeke walked over and helped Sarah on one of the lawn chairs, while the other sat in the other. "Sarah, you okay, sweetie? What happened to your glasses?" Bonnie asked. Sarah didn't reply. She just started loading the magazine with bullets. Zeke didn't even bother responding either. He was angry with Bonnie. She was the one that held him at gunpoint and could have got them killed. "Sweetie, I can't help you if you don't tell me what happened," Bonnie said. "Maybe I don't want to tell you anything," Sarah said as she looked up to Bonnie. She seemed very upset, but she didn't shout or scream at Bonnie. "I nearly lost my boyfriend because of you, and thanks to you, Clem is now miserable as being kept from her family and friends." Bonnie frowned and she said, "Sweetie, what you and everyone else did was wrong. I know it's not your fault, but you shouldn't have left like you did." "That's right. Shift the blame to someone else. It can't be your fault. That's not possible," Zeke said with a sarcastic tone of voice. "Shut it," Bonnie said to the boy. "I'm talking to Sarah, not you." "Don't talk to him like that, Bonnie. I used to think you were my friend. I guess that was a huge mistake. I'll never trust you again," Sarah said, with what she appeared to be a glare aimed at Bonnie. Zeke was impressed. She hadn't seen the girl so angry before. "Sarah, please. We all had our reasons to come and get you all. You don't understand." Bonnie tried to reach out to Sarah, but the girl moved away. Bonnie sighed before continuing. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry that all the things went the way they did. No one was meant to die." Still, there was no response. It remained quiet within the armory as Zeke and Sarah continued to load magazines. Finally, Bonnie spoke up. "All right, what do you want from me? I'm sorry that you lost people a couple days ago. I'm sorry we hunted you down so we could bring you back here and be safe. What do you want from me?" "We want you to shut the hell up," Zeke snapped as he got out of his chair. "Whining like a little bitch and trying to get your reasons to actions is when you know it is wrong isn't helping anyone. You're annoying. Get off your ass and do something if you want to make things right." Bonnie looked at the teenage boy with the eyes widened. She got up and left the armory. Zeke huffed and said, "My gosh, what an annoying woman." She sat down next to Sarah. "Yeah, usually I don't encourage yelling, but she deserved it," Sarah said. "Thanks." "No problem," Zeke said. "I try to avoid yelling and violence as much as possible, but my gosh, I can't stand her." With Bonnie gone, the two spent some time to cool down and enjoying each other's company until someone else walked inside. It was yet another woman. "Hey guys, I'll be taking over for Bonnie," the woman said as she sat down in Bonnie's chair. "Shell?" Sarah asked. The woman smiled and said, "Sarah, it's good to see you." A frown soon formed on the place of the smile. "What happened to your glasses, sweetie? I remember you telling me that you hated the contact lenses." "Troy crushed my glasses in the yard," Sarah said. "Him, of course," Shell said. "I should have known. I'll go talk to your dad. He may have some glasses in the infirmary. Can you two behave in the meantime?" "Yeah, as long as you don't bring Bonnie back," Zeke said. Shell nodded in response. "Listen, I've known Bonnie for a long time. She's done a lot of stupid things in her life, but she does have her best intentions at heart. So far, that remains to be seen. I'm pretty sure Walter and Nick would have still been alive if she hadn't brought Carver to the front doorstep," Zeke said. Shell only nodded her head before she walked out. It seemed like she couldn't defend her friend's actions.